Hi, Cory Geiger along with Neil Rudel, our PSU Presser. Just got finished with Bill O'Brien's weekly press conference. Big topic of the day and really of the week is the recruitment by Illinois of Penn State's players after the sanctions. Now, O'Brien was asked several questions, really didn't get into it a whole lot, but that is a very intriguing aspect of this game.
Oh, yeah, and excuse me, I think the motivation is going to be very high for Penn State. And of course, I think it's smart not to provide any bulletin board material. What was said over the summer, obviously smoldering under the surface. I mean, this is a team that has a lot of strong resolve and motivation anyway. So I think that'll be to Illinois' disadvantage.
Now, a lot of teams recruited Penn State's players. Why was it such a big deal, in your opinion, that Illinois did it, being a Big Ten member? And I asked Tim Beckman in Chicago at Big Ten Media Days, do you feel like you've done anything wrong recruiting them? And he said no.
Right. I mean, it is legal, but, again, when we've dealt with this here over the past year, what is legal and what is, appropriate and ethical are two different things.
Yeah.
And I think that especially a new coach coming in there, I don't think when Urban Meyer says, I wouldn't do it, I think that said a lot. And, obviously, and I don't think Joe Paterno would have done it either, just to be clear. I just don't think.
Joe Paterno, now, much different scenario, but Penn State recruited an SMU kid back when they got the death penalty. Again, that's a different scenario. SMU didn't have football. Penn State still does.
Right. Yeah. I just think that it's starting to rain.
It is raining a little bit.
I just think that, Illinois is a struggling program right now, and I think this will work to their disadvantage.
Yeah.
I just think that, to light a fire under these kids when they already can't go to a bowl game, they've already seen the world kind of collapse around them. I don't think it was very smart.
Yeah, it was shady. There's no doubt about it. It was shady. To do that to a fellow conference school, that's not really the appropriate thing to do. Now, Illinois is coming off a bad loss at home to Louisiana Tech. I'm curious to see how they bounce back, because sometimes in sports, when you get crushed one week, you go one of two ways. You either quit the next week or you come out more fired up than even usual the next week. So that'll be interesting, I think, how the Illini handle it.
Yeah, and that didn't really come up today. But, I think that's, are you more dangerous or are you just not very good?
Right.
So it can kind of work both ways. If Illinois would fall down early, maybe their resolve will be, further tested.
All right.
Especially they were at home.
Penn State is healthy, which is good. Running back Bill Belton should be back. Michael Zordich didn't practice on Monday, but he's expected to be back. Defensive end Sean Stanley back. Running back Derek Day is supposed to be back. And I know I'm missing one. Zwinak. No, he was good.
He's okay.
Yeah, Stan. So Massaro will not be able to play. He is not expected to play. But they are getting healthy again, which is good, because clearly when we have depth issues already, you can't afford to lose key players.
Yeah, you were running down the running backs, and I think that is an area that they have been. I think there's been a lot of areas to be very impressed with the early showing of the O'Brien regime, particularly. I mean, you lost Silas Red. He was the guy that was going to get 25 carries. And the way they've divided them up and gotten positive contributions from all these running backs, I think, again, I don't think they've played, particularly the last couple of weeks, great teams. But Penn State's doing significant things. And this running back by committee, they've all been pretty positive. I think you got to give some credit also to Charles London.
Absolutely. Donovan Smith, left tackle Donovan Smith is the other one expected to be back. Matt McGloin, terrific game, 318 yards. We recapped it on Saturday. Leads the Big Ten in passing yards per game, completions, and is tied for the top spot in touchdowns. I asked the question on my radio show the other day, if you could take Matt McGloin running this Penn State offense or any other quarterback in the Big Ten, again, running this Penn State offense, not a Michigan offense, would you take Matt McGloin over the rest of the quarterbacks in this league?
Right now. And isn't that ironic on how far he has come? And, I mean, it's no real secret. I mean, this was not a place that really developed quarterback play when you had a guy like Kerry Collins or Blackledge that were, physically gifted and they had a lot of trust in. Maybe it was a little bit different, but I think what Charlie Fisher has done, because you look at McGloin's game the other day, and he really didn't do anything all that spectacular. He's letting the game come to him. They're getting a ton of production after the catch. And I think that's another, difference in offensive philosophies.
Yep.
Before we saw a point A to point B passing game. You didn't use the middle of the field like you are now, and McGloin's really benefiting from it.
And that's what the Patriots did, and that's what we expected to see from Bill O'Brien. They get a ton of yards after the catch. They led the NFL. 3 of their guys, Welker, Hernandez, and Gonzalez, were in the top 10 in the NFL in yards after the catch last year. That's what we're seeing this Penn State offense do. Now, Illinois is a 1.5-point favorite, which
surprised me.
Yeah, it surprised me. I've got Penn State winning. We usually let you go first with the score predictions. How do you see it?
I think that Penn State's going to win this game and break out a little bit. They have not scored a lot of points. I picked it 28-17. I'll be curious if O'Brien gets in a position. I know he's not talking a lot about motivation this week from what Beckman did, but if they get a chance, they did this in New England, they didn't mind putting an extra one on. Yeah. And I think in this case, if they do it, I wouldn't blame them.
Yeah, absolutely. That's very interesting. Now, I've got it closer. I've got it 24-20. This is a better caliber of player that they're going to face on this side of the ball than they faced the past 2 weeks. They won a couple games. They got some confidence against Navy and Temple. These are Big Ten players. I still think Penn State's a better team. So I've got it 24-20. But as Neil said, I would agree. If they've got a shot at it near the end, don't be surprised if he's throwing late in the fourth quarter to get it up a little bit more.
And at the same time, this is an Illinois team that Penn State only beat 10-7 last year. Yep. So it should be a competitive game. And looking forward to it.
And it should be noted that was Joe Paterno's last game as head coach. Penn State won. That was win number 409 for Joe against Illinois. That obviously was vacated later on, but that was Joe Paterno's last game against Illinois a year ago. For Neil Rudel, I'm Cory Geiger, Tim Shane behind the camera. Thanks so much for tuning in.